Yeah. I know you got problems, know you at the bottom, know you took a loss today. Everybody want bottles, living for a throttle, you just want bottle today. Tell me joy, where it's hiding, I've been trying to find it before I go all the way. Cause everybody got problems, everybody starving, but don't you go off today.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tracy Branch, and this is the All Done Podcast. That's my friend Mike, my co-host on the brilliant All Done Podcast, and we'd like to welcome you all to the All Done Podcast experience. Thank you for joining us. How you feeling today, Mike?
I'm good, man. I like that intro. It changes the vibes on there. I see
I'm trying to just try new things.
We're right at it. You feel me? Like on some CNN vibes. Like I like it.
I'm trying to try new things. You know, let's keep it creative out here. Let's keep it creative. Keep the content coming. Yo, this is the All Done Podcast.
Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year.
Yeah, definitely. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. First episode of the new year. So we're excited to see what this year brings. As podcasters, me and my best friend here, Mike. So what we talking about today, man? I'll let you intro it.
I'm gonna intro it. I don't know if anybody recently seen the Booger, what's his name, McFarland? McFarland comments on ESPN, and I'm talking about Dwayne Haskins and him possibly messing up his opportunity to be a quarterback in the NFL, and he was leased by the Washington football team, and so we talking on our feelings on that, and Booger's comments and all that other stuff. So
yeah. And I mean, I think it's an overarching concept. It's not just about Dwayne Haskins or what Booger said. I think this conversation has been had for years or decades, right? About athletes losing money and how quick they go through it. And after 5 years, what percentage of athletes are broke in the leagues that are predominantly dominated by African Americans. So I think this is an interesting topic. Dwayne Haskins just happens to be the most recent person. And I definitely want to preface all my comments with saying, I don't know Dwayne Haskins. I don't know what happened. I don't know him personally. I've never spoken to him. So I think we all at times need to take a step back and realize that you don't know these people. So these are just opinions, and we're just chopping it up.
Facts.
And using these people as vehicles to concepts and ideas rather than chit-chatting about people. So I figured we should I want to start tonight's episode with showing the Dwayne Haskins situations.
Unfortunately, I've seen this too many times. Played in the NFL almost a decade. You played a long time. We've been around it for a long time. And oftentimes young players, especially, and I'm going to go here, especially young African-American players, because they make up 70% of this league. They come into this league and they ask themselves the wrong thing. They come into the league saying not, how can I be a better player? They don't say, how can I be a better teammate? They don't say, how can I be a better person? How can I get my organization over the hump? Here's what they come in saying. They come in saying, how can I build my brand better? How can I build my social media following better? How can I work out on Instagram and show everybody that I'm ready to go, but when I get to the game, I don't perform? Dwayne Haskins, unfortunately, is not the first case that I've seen like this. Yes. And it won't be the last. And it bothers me because a lot of it is the young African-American player. They come in, and they don't take this as a business. It is still a game to them.
They look at it as football.
This ain't football, right, man. This is a billion-dollar business.
Yes.
It's billions of dollars. They pay us a lot of money to talk about the game. So imagine what they pay these guys to play the game.
Yes. Yeah.
They play a child's game and get paid a king's ransom. And it bothers me because I saw a quarterback do it. I saw Jamarcus Russell do it. The number one pick in the draft, they gave him $40 million and he threw it down the damn drain because he didn't take it seriously. And it bothers me because there are a lot of jobs like this around. I'm going to tell you, I've been retired a while. It's not a lot of jobs like that around where they will pay you millions of dollars for virtually 6 months of performance. So my message to Dwayne Haskins, not just him, but the rest of the young players in the NFL, man, this is a game, but take it as a business. There are billions, with a B, of dollars at stake. And until you start approaching this game that way, until you start coming to work saying, you know what can I do to get better today? What can I do to make sure my teammates are better today? How can I put my organization first instead of my damn Instagram? Take it as a serious business, but too many times it's a game. We want to TikTok. We want to do all these different things. Man, do you understand how much money is at stake?
So that was Dwayne Haskins. And there was some of the things that he said that I could agree with, but I'm also a lot older than the 20-year-old, 21-year-old, 22-year-old coming into the league and getting a $40 million deal. So you start off. I mean, that's kind of my jumping point, but there are some things that he said that I agree with and some things that I'm like, man, that's coming from a perspective where you've had time to grow and that young man may not have had that.
Absolutely. Now, my issue comes with him lumping all black athletes together, young black athletes together. So what he said wasn't necessarily wrong, but if you're talking about Dwayne Haskins, then talk about Dwayne Haskins, because really the issue isn't young black athletes. The issue is young athletes as a whole. So now, and granted, when he was giving his speech and his his rhetoric, some people think there was some hurt in there for people that look like him, but I think don't give the dominant society ammunition, because sources that I have said they've spoken to like GMs and stuff like that, and like, oh well, yes, pretty much, yeah. You see, the black guy said it, so that's what it is. You feel me?
No, that makes sense. I think I want to pick up about the point where he was talking about don't blow it. Right? Like, I think a lot of times because we force these kids, and that's sometimes some of them are kids, right? 19, 20, 21 years old. That's not, you're not some experienced person of life, right? Like, it's new to you, right? So picture, and I don't know where Dwayne Haskins comes from, but I know some of our African-American millionaires that are athletes come from some places that are pretty dark, right?
Absolutely.
So picture coming from that place of darkness and then having to be responsible for all the things that comes with. And then on top of that, now I have to be a great football player. And that's more than just throwing passes and handing the football off at the quarterback position, right? There's an air of leadership that comes with that title. And again, it is not easy. Everyone, I want to give LeBron James some props, because everyone is not LeBron James. Everyone can't come in scandal-free. A child knew he was going to be the next big thing and handle it and be successful and do all the things that is a tall order for a kid to live up to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, that's a lot, and I never claim to know what he's dealing with. And like you said, shout out to LeBron. And that's not to say he's never done anything as an athlete. That's just say he has a great team around him. So if anything, that's what we should teach our younger brothers and sisters anyway. Like, keep the right people around you. You feel me? And
I agree.
But like I said, Haskins is Haskins, and he's done what he's done. Like I said, more so my issue is McFarland. Like I said, we talked about this a little bit off air. Like, I believe like he should never lump those black athletes together, because there were other athletes. What was it, Matt Jones or something like that? He had trouble coming in the league with the Lions, I think it was. Aaron Hernandez is an obvious one. He had trouble coming in the league. So honestly, it's pressure on young athletes anyway. So don't just lump together and then single out black athletes. And if your aiming point is to, build your people, and we're about to go into something else a little bit, but if that's to build your people, then there has to be a code with that. We've spoken on it a few times. Build in public, and I defend in public, and then we'll talk to you about it. Like, nah, you was dead wrong for what you did, or do something to speak to these athletes and show them the different way. You feel me?
And obviously, we don't know what Booger has done, so I can't sit there and say that Booger hasn't reached out to Dwayne Haskins and said, "Hey,
that's facts.
Like, listen, let's talk about it. I've been through the game. I've played. I've made some money. I've lost some money. I've made mistakes." I don't know that he hasn't done that. Obviously, the appearance when you come out in public, everybody's going to just grasp onto the 2-minute clip that we wanted to show you, and then kind of go off that. But for me, it's important to hold people accountable. And so I'm not getting on McFarland for saying, oh, well, don't hold them accountable. But I think I agree with you when I say the way he holds them accountable. Yes, I do think there is a, especially at that level, there is a process and procedure to me to go about that. I can agree with that. What I don't agree with, though, is that, we can't we can't hold him accountable because he's a kid, right? I think I've said this many times on this podcast, is that our people are coming from a different place. And so with that understood, yes, the expectation is going to be different. I think everyone in any facet or class or situation, you have to understand that. So yes, young black kid, when you come into the multi-million-dollar situation that is the NFL or the NBA or whatever, yeah,
or whatever, baby.
There is a different expectation on you, and that is just what it is, unfortunately, right? I wish we could have those situations where he can have the blunders. And again, I also want to say, I don't understand exactly what Dwayne Haskins did, right? We're giving our opinion from the outside looking in. From what I know, and I want to, and maybe you have a different understanding of the situation, he was in a club and broke some COVID rules, which is very serious. Yeah. His head coach did just beat a very challenging illness. And so he was not only putting himself at risk, but his teammates. And it was on the precipice from a game football perspective, it was on the precipice of a very big situation. And then he came out and didn't play as well as maybe he probably could have. And so all those things wrapped up, I think, is where Booger's coming from.
And it goes back to I think it was a Hove interview when he was just simply like, "Don't do dumb shit." You feel me?
And then what he said, or do dumb shit, but do it better than me. I'm just trying to. He was saying, Hove was saying, "I've done dumb shit. Don't be better than me."
Yeah, absolutely. And so like let's clear it up. Haskins didn't do anything illegal. He didn't break any laws.
That's important.
He was a young man having a good time. And,
granted, in the time that we're in, not the best decision to make.
Not the best decision, but you know what? So I get that. So that's why I'm not too much on the Haskins. Oh, you're wrong. Like, and one thing you got to learn. Unfortunately, these young brothers got to grow up fast. Like, I don't know how the pressures they're under because I've never been in that situation, but unfortunately, you are, and you do have to grow up fast, and you got to learn some stuff fast. And I believe he came out later and said, maybe I didn't make some of the best decisions.
Dwayne Haskins did, you mean it?
Huh? Yeah. Later he said I didn't make some of the best decisions. But like I said, my biggest fight and my biggest issue is with Booger. Like, I'm sorry, like you can't do that to me. Don't group like because even he said, well, because 70% of the league is young black athletes. So with that being said, let's say it's just 100 athletes total. That's 70 of them. 3 to 5 make bad decisions. Now you're gonna group the rest in there? No, that's not fair.
I think I need to definitely also say that some of this has to be making TV, right? Like, I think sometimes us, the consumers of entertainment, we get a little wrapped up in his passion behind the topic. Like I said, number one, we don't know if he did pull him to the side, which I would advocate for. Like, yeah, you should probably just call that man or get in touch with that man somehow, some way. That way y'all can figure it out. And then maybe you can have a better show or better entertainment because you have actual real quotes coming from Dwayne Haskins saying whatever it is that he told you was okay to say or that y'all chopped it up about. I think that's definitely a better way to go about it. But in all fairness to Booger, he is doing his job. Maybe not the way me or you would do that job, but he does have a job to do, and it's to report on sports. And so when you make a mistake, the thing I've always tried to tell people that come to me for advice is you got to fall on your sword. You don't get to tell people how to reprimand you after you've made a mistake, right? You don't get to mess up and then be like, well, this is how I'd like to be punished, right? Like the fallout is the fallout, regardless to how we feel. But that is the case.
I agreed wholeheartedly. But so do you think that there should be some type of code we use, like for each other? And I think that's what we lack. You feel me? Like we lack a code, and I'm gonna say it on a broader scale. And of course, there's smaller examples. I'm saying on a broader scale, like we know our current president. Let's just be real. Like done fucked up some stuff. He done messed up some stuff. He done did some. But his people won't just come out and say, "Nah, he's dead wrong." Blah blah blah. They don't get me wrong. They know he's wrong. They know he messed up, and his party know he's not right. But there's a code to it. You feel me? So why can't we have that code? Why don't we have that code?
I think in this case, the entertainment part plays a big factor in it. But I think also because the elder in the situation, which is Booger, right? He's the person that has the experience. He's the elder. Some of the young cats might not feel like, hey man, he's even willing to take the time to really get to know me before he blasts me. I don't know Dwayne Haskins, but I would imagine to get as far as he has gotten via football and to become as successful as he's become, I would have to say that he's somewhat of a decent human being. I mean, that's not always the case, but I mean, he's not a total D-bag. I say that to say I do believe that this is a young man just making a mistake.
Absolutely.
And no, I don't feel like he should be crucified for it. I absolutely feel like he should be given another opportunity to play football. Will he? I don't know. But I think he does deserve another opportunity. But again, for the person that messes up, that's not for you to say. At this point, it's about you fixing yourself and trying to get the individuals to believe that you want a job from, that you're not going to make these types of mistakes again.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Booger, I also want to touch on and kind of pivot here. Booger also mentioned, and this is where, again, I think you mentioned it, it sounds kind of salty, right? Booger's talking about, well, you don't do it for your Instagram or don't do it for the TikTok. And he's kind of bringing in the social media era because 20 somethings right now, really, that's their life, right? Social media is their thing. So from my perspective, yes, it's a professional sport, but it's still a game. So I'm not upset, and grew up with the game of football. Coach it to this day, love the game. Mm-hmm. You're not going to stop, and I think this is a graver problem. We are having trouble as a society fusing the old way of doing things where there's a level of privacy and the new way of doing things in social media where there is limited privacy because everyone has a phone. And I think a lot of that is kind of in this message as well. And again, I think you need to give some of these kids a mulligan because you didn't have to deal with, if you in 1990, whatever Booger played in, if you were to go out to the club or the hotel bar and was with some young lady, that's not going to, unless someone tells, and then it's your word versus their, right? It's not, what are the consequences unless you get actually caught by someone seeing you in a position of authority. So I think you definitely, there's got to be a learning curve, right? How long has social media to this extent really been around? Maybe 5 years, maybe
5 to 10 years at the most.
So it becomes okay. They're not all caught up to speed yet, and I think that plays a big part.
Absolutely. So, like you said, we're gonna pivot this a little bit. Somebody and I don't know, I can't remember exactly which group I'm in, but they posted Dion saying something similar, but. With Dion, like my what I said to them was Dion didn't group one black athletes together alone. He just said young athletes, and he pretty much said the same thing. They don't ask how can I. Well, Dion's primetime point was they don't ask how can I get my mother out the hood. How can I do that? How can I do this? And he was like, they worry about building their brand and this, that, and the third. But I agree with some of the things. Like his overall point was a lot of young athletes are just soft. But he's also been quoted saying it's not a kid problem, it's a coaching problem and a parent problem. But secondly,
but then you got to think about who these comments are. It's coming from Prime.
Yeah,
must be the money. Like, come on, like you don't think nobody that was in the league 10 years, a vet in the league at the time Prime Time was coming in, was like, who is this kid? Like, you don't think there were no vets?
He was very flashy. Like, everybody know Prime Time was very flashy.
Come on. So I mean. Again, some of this has to go with changing of the times and changing of the eras. And I think myself included, I get caught up in that sometimes with the people that I work with are younger. And sometimes their minds are in a different place than mine because they're at a different place than I was. I'm not living in this time of social media. I have no desire to TikTok dance. I
know some adults that still TikTok dance.
And that's cool too. I'm saying it's a young person's game. And you got to let them figure that out the way they got to figure that out. And if you're doing it right as an elder, then you can guide. You can provide guidance. You can provide
exactly. I don't believe we should blast them publicly, especially when we have that platform. We should never do that. And that's where the whole having a code comes in at. But here's why I disagree with, because I want to say Booger brought it up too, but definitely in the Prime video, he brought it up. Here's why I disagree. They say, well, you can't worry about building your brand. And I think we absolutely should worry about building our brand.
Great.
I think a lot of young athletes, a lot of athletes in general, when they leave the NFL, NBA, MLB, whatever the case may be, they end up broke. You feel me? But it's because their brand wasn't built properly. So they're not, like, what do they have to fall back on? Well, once you stop playing, you're not getting paid. What are you doing? Like, have you sold have you, build your brand to where you're selling shoes in your name or shirts in your name, or even invested here or there and built your brand? So that's another point I disagree with them that they were saying.
I think that stems more towards the childish ways, but I think they think that because the way that brands are built today may not be the way brands were built 15 years ago.
Absolutely.
And so I do want to pivot also to this, and I think this plays a big part with Dwayne Haskins. I think because of the game, right? Like at that level, as a professional athlete, I think being in sports all my life, at any time, professional or otherwise, there is a code of teammates. To really good teams, there is a code of teammates. Any good team I've been on, no one has ever tried to violate the code of football between teammates. And I think some of the people that have played the game for a long time are like, listen, now's not the time to build brand, right? So that I can agree with. I can agree that, hey, with the playoffs on the line, being an athlete with an opportunity to play for an extra week, as we like to say, now's not the time to be in the club, especially if people have felt he hasn't played up to a certain standard all year long. And so from the football perspective, I absolutely understand that. But I've had friends and I've played with friends that's how they prepare. They prepare by partying. They want to go out. They want to be social. They don't want to feel the weight and the pressure of the game. And that's how they prepare to be the best that they can. And for me as a teammate, I always thought, listen, as long as you come ready, once we touch the field, as long as you're ready to play, do it. Get ready however you have to get ready. I can't judge that. In this case, people are saying Dwayne was not as prepared as he probably should have been, and that this, whatever went on, does not help that.
Right. So I'm going to ask a question, and this is more of you as an athlete and as a coach and all that. And I'm going to ask this about Dwayne Haskins specifically. Do you think it's more so of the system failed him? And what I mean by the system, I'm speaking to the Washington football team system. Because you got to think he's probably not new to, like, all right, I party, I go out, I do this. That's probably not new to him.
I was the man at Ohio State, right?
Yeah, so they're saying he struggled in the NFL. So do you think this is a high draft quarterback? Do you think the system should have changed a little bit to help him out?
I think you know the answer. You know what I'm going to say, of course, because I don't put business is not on an island to me, and to a lot of people it is. Like, where it's not just, well, I have these employees and they just need to know, right? To me, there is an obligation on the employer to prepare and help your employees the best way that you can. With that being said, do I think the Washington football team might have failed Dwayne? I don't want to say that, because I don't feel comfortable and I don't know enough about that organization. But I think the statistics, I think Sports Illustrated had an article not too long ago that said 60% of African-American athletes are broke within 5 years. And so, yes, that would point to a systemic problem of some of these organizations not preparing these young men for life after football. So and the counter argument would be, is that their job? I would say yes. What do you think?
You thinking bigger than just the Washington football team? You think the NFL as a whole?
I mean, we've heard this story time, right? I think McFarland mentions it. He mentions Jamarcus Russell, and that whole thing played out. And
but speaking individually about Jamarcus Russell, I heard he's just, like, I've heard stories of him just nothing. Like, I didn't want to study a playbook. And they do things, I've heard they do things to test players. So they'll do something like tape a $100 bill in a playbook. And when they get the playbook back, if they see that the $100 bill is still there on a certain page, they didn't look at the playbook, or they gave them a DVD and, like, watch these plays and tell me which one you like. And, certain quarterbacks said, I like all of them, but it was just like, it's a blank DVD.
I heard that was the exact case with Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, let's just be real. Like, that's facts.
That's exact thing. But again, it goes back to, if you don't have these tools and principles to be brought up, it's more than just being 6'6", running a 4.54, right? It's bigger than that at the professional level. You got to be able, there's a work ethic that comes with it. for most players. Now, granted, there's a small percentage of professional athletes that just got it.
Yeah.
Born with it. I mean, yes, they work hard, but some of them just born with it. But for the rest of the professionals, yeah, man, you got to study. You got to lift. You got to work hard. You got to study your opponent. And I think being cut within 2 years as a first-round quarterback, to me, does not speak to only going out right before some sort of big game.
So the question I ask, since we're based on solutions, so my question is, who's to blame for that? Like, where does that start?
I'm gonna say once Dwayne Haskins becomes a professional athlete, now your role and accountability begins, because now there are infinite resources, right? Like, and I always say we owe it to each other. So yeah, could a vet on that team, and I don't know if they didn't, could a vet on that team come to Dwayne and say, hey man, you're not doing it right? Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I think that should have happened. But again, Dwayne, on the other side, you could have went to any vet on that team or in the league or Hall of Famers of the game. I'm sure he has access to these individuals, and I would imagine that they told him, hey, now's not the time for that. You need to be doing X, Y, and Z. And then at that point, it's hard for me to believe that no one told him. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's hard for me to believe that he was just the quarterback on the team for 2 years and no one said, hey, man, you don't need to go out every night.
X.
Hey, man, why don't you know X, Y, and Z in the playbook? Hey, why don't you know this order? Right? That's challenging for me to believe. I don't know these organizations, so maybe they do. Maybe it's a total shit show and no one knows what they're doing. But I just don't think that the way that is the way it is run.
So you're saying it's once he become a professional athlete, it's on him. I'm gonna say I believe it starts way before then.
Sure.
I believe it starts. I'm gonna go like I said, Coach Prime. I call him Coach Prime now because he's the coach of the Jackson State University.
I know y'all excited, right? Fake excited.
A little bit excited. Jackson State fans are super excited, getting a lot of D1, getting a lot of great recruits in. 5-star recruits, not D1, but 5-star recruits. So I believe a lot of people are still excited. But I heard him in a video and he was like, like I said earlier, he said it's a coaching issue. So, and I see this myself because I coach Little League football as well. So we see athletes and they get away with murder, like because they're good.
Oh, you mean coaching throughout his life? Because Ron Rivera's been at Chargers. He was pretty damn good as a coordinator. And
he was in Carolina.
He's pretty damn good there. Yeah. Washington football team.
I think way before we get to that level.
Yeah.
Because I believe he probably did some of these things at the college level.
Absolutely. And also catching breaks.
He probably did some of these things at the high school level.
Sure.
So I think, and not saying I know for a fact, because he might have not, this might be a recent development, but I think I've seen personally though, like athletes get away with murder at a younger age. I coach Little League. I coach, Pop Warner football. So, and it's just like, oh, well, he's good. We're just gonna, we'll let it slide. So at what point do we say, well, I'm willing to lose this Pop Warner game to help him be a better man in the future? Because that's my take when I coach.
The answer is never.
Very rarely, very few and far between.
Because what is the option, right? Like, I'm going to take a kid that may not have, and I mean, every kid has skills, but opportunities in this world come so few and far between, so finite that I'm going to take an opportunity from a kid to be something that he was destined to be because he got a bad grade on the test? Or am I going to give him another shot and hope that he figures it out once he gets a little older and matures a little bit more? That may not be the right thing to do, and that may not even be what I would do, but I can't sit here and say I don't understand that perspective of not telling a kid, like, hey, no, this may be the talent that God gave you to show the world. I'm going to stop it because you're not as nice or you're not as polite or respectful.
Because you're a jerk. Yes, absolutely.
You going to take it away?
Because yes. Yes. Okay. Like I said, I believe it's my responsibility. Like we've spoken about giving back what I'm obligated to do. So I've been put in a position as a coach. And so I look at that as a leadership role. So I feel it's my responsibility to help mold you. Now, I'm not going to punish you because you got a C on a test where you pass. So academics may not be your thing. So not everybody's strong academically. Let's just be real. Not everybody's a genius.
I agree.
When you just a little jerk in school, you know, and now that's a different issue. You feel me?
I think it's a very fine line, man. And I get what you're saying. Like, I don't want star athletes cursing out teachers or authority figures. And I think you definitely need to monitor that early. The earlier, the better. But it's a very fine line to, do I take away opportunity? And then, right, the coach in me says, I didn't take it away. You gave it away with your actions.
Exactly.
But, I mean, damn. What your family, poverty, all these things. And now,
it's riding on you not being a dick too, though.
A part of me,
let's just be real, riding on you not being a jerk.
But a part of me almost feels like coming from that situation, some of that is a defense mechanism. Some of that is not all because, oh, I just woke up today and I wanted to be a dick. Some of it's like, hey, I live in a neighborhood where this has to be my demeanor. Or I come from a situation where I have to exude this type of personality to finagle my way or finesse my way through my experiences.
Nature versus nurture, pretty much.
Yes, and again, no one has the answer to that. And so the people that are in leadership and authoritative roles, you need to understand that. And so I am in no way gonna throw this kid by the wayside. And anybody that's doing that, take a look at yourself, right? Have you never made a mistake?
I don't really think it's throwing them by the wayside. I think it's teaching a sense of accountability early. So granted, I'm not going to kick a kid off the team for, but at practice, you're going to go through it. You might be suspended for the first half of a game. You might not. Well, you know what? This game, you're going to have to sit out.
And maybe this is Dwayne Haskins' suspension. Maybe this is his sit out.
I believe he'll get his act together. So when we speak about him directly, I think he'll get his act together.
I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I definitely think he needs to get another opportunity.
I think, he definitely deserves an opportunity. Like I said, he's an amazing talent. And he's made some mistakes. I'm not going to put that on the shoulders of all young black athletes. Like my guy Booger did. I'm speaking to him directly.
I think some of that comes from just speaking, right? You're talking, you're passionate about something. I think obviously Booger McFarland understands that not all, right? That's obvious.
But you know what? On his platform, he's not afforded that mistake. Because that puts us in a bad position. To me,
it is because I know that not all athletes are, right?
But that puts us in a bad position.
Use your common sense.
Because now that gives ammo to the dominant society. That's my biggest issue.
Okay, I understand that. I understand that people will use it against him because Booger, who is a good football player, or Prime said it, he's a good football player, that it must be true. I understand that they have some influence. I'm saying that that's still not a justification to write this kid off. Could that possibly still happen? Absolutely. Sure it could.
Yeah, because they're going to say, well, Booger said it.
Sure.
So once again, my issue, as I stated a few times throughout this podcast, my issue is not with Dwayne Haskins' actions or, his punishment. My issue is strictly with the commentator after. You feel me? Like, I'm not going to give y'all ammo to use against us.
I have a problem with societal criticism in and of itself, which is, I guess, is why it took so long for this podcast to come to fruition, because I don't like necessarily talking about people because we are not some singular thing just going, and the moment you caught me messed up is the moment it explains everything about me, right? We are very complicated human beings, and so I really try to make a point not to pigeonhole anyone, even if they've made a mistake, because you don't know where these people come from.
That's true.
Like it's a very challenging thing. But I do want to touch on going back to the whole Instagram and TikTok thing. This is also coming off the heels of some of the vet players possibly saying everything that's transpired with Juju and how he wanted to dance on logos. And there's a certain style of football that some people play, and and again, there's that line where you're coming up in an era where maybe TikTok dancing on logos was cool. The brand of football that I come from, you don't disrespect nobody's house.
Yeah, you don't. But you know what? You can say that brand of football, but that's not new to football. You feel me?
No, it's not. But
think about what was it? T.O.
is new to football.
But we got T.O. on national TV running and spiking the ball in the middle of the star.
And you see what happened with that.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to act like that's new, that disrespect on the field.
But it was disrespect. When T.O. did that, he knew it was disrespect. Juju, when he was doing that, I don't even think to him it was like it is disrespect. I'm just building my brand. I'm TikToking on the logo. I'm an NFL player. Like he wasn't. I don't feel, and I don't know Juju, but I don't think he was like.
I'm not going to claim the mind of the individual, but to know the mind of that individual. But if you played sports long enough, that's disrespectul. Don't dance on my logo. In this
era, what is disrespect? This is the social media.
It don't matter. It's disrespectful. You can't social media this one. That disrespect when you see it.
I think you're giving them more credit than they know, man. It's not the same game.
I think you're letting them off too easy.
It's kind of like the thing where it's like, no, there are no cell phones in a locker room. Right? Because people are hitting people. There's ruffians being rough with each other. Let's put it at that. Right. And so that was my understanding. Any locker room I was in from middle school all the way up. We're not going to do cell phones. Is that the case now?
I think there's a cell phone rule, like they're not allowed to have it like 2 hours before.
I mean, you make a rule, but I still see the snaps, and you do too. You still see those photos of players in their uniform, in the locker room with their teammates. We all still see that. And I'm sure many coaches do implement rules that say, we're not doing that because it might be a headache for us at a later date.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And I think, I do blame the younger generation on I got to be the first one to show this. I got to be the first one to say this. I blame I bring news as well.
So you understand the mindset. That's what I'm trying to say, that you can't blame a Juju or anyone because he's not the only kid that does that.
That's what, like I said, that's what we disagree because, like I said, as an athlete, who's disrespectful. As a competitor.
To you as a 30-something, and maybe to Booger as a 40, 50-something, you have your understanding. I'm not saying that they have that understanding that we once had.
I mean, so when you were,
it's not like he's going to the middle field taking a piss on the logo.
I was just about to say, so when you were a young athlete at Brentwood and you wouldn't go to CI and go dance on the middle on their logo.
I was not raised. That was the era I grew up in.
Well, no, but that would be disrespectful. It ain't about an era because you don't have to have a video doing it.
Yes, but you wouldn't do it. I'm telling you, it is because the era has changed. There's Instagram, and maybe that's Booger's point, is that he's saying, no, it's not. When you out here as a professional or as an athlete, it ain't time for brand building, and that I can understand. But my rebuttal would be, hey man, they're growing up in a different time. They gotta put the cell phone. They have to have it. It's as a person, as a leader in an organization, or as a coach, you have to wrangle with the new ways of doing things. You cannot just say, I'm just going to shut it out and it's done because I said so. Because that's not my
argument, though. My argument isn't the cell phones and the videos. So right now, specifically, in particular, I'm talking about as an athlete, it's disrespectful to another team. If you go slap their mascot, whether it's on video or not, that's disrespectful.
Yeah, but I can't. I'm not. So to you, Juju dancing on these logos was disrespectful.
Absolutely, whether it was a video of it or not. If I'm walking out on the sideline, is he dancing on my 50-yard line?
Yeah,
that's a problem.
I would agree with you. I'm telling you that the generations behind us may not be there. Some of them might, but some of them are like, man, it ain't that serious. We play the game. We play the game between the whistles. Once the clock starts, then we start violence, and once the clock stops, then we stop violence.
What's disrespect was that? Like I'm personally, like I said, I play football for years, even on a semi-pro level. So one of my things was when the O-line warmed up as an O-line captain, we warmed up on the opposite team's 40 to 50-yard line. And at the end of our warm-ups, when I'm giving out breakdown, my final word was F them bitches. That was my words. Every time. That's what we was gonna break it down on. Because I know that's disrespectful.
Yeah, and the game comes with a certain level of violence, but F them bitches and dancing, TikTok, those are not like, that's not, if I seen, I played football, whatever, I was okay, whatever. If I was to see an offensive lineman dancing, I'd be like, oh, he's food. I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's time to fight. I'm gonna be like, oh, he's food. No disrespect to me. You look ridiculous over there dancing. Really? And I'm really about to get off in your ass now because you over there, you want to dance. You think shit is sweet out here.
Yeah, that's the point though.
But that's not
that's the point.
Bitches. That's not disrespect. Him dancing could not be like, oh, I'm not trying to disrespect. Who's gonna take dancing as disrespect? Again, I'm defending
dancing on my logo is.
I'm defending a point that I don't side with because again, don't dance on my logo. Don't do that funny shit. I'm trying to say I understand as a 20-something growing up in this era how that is like, hey man, we just TikToking and this is a cool place to do it. Only I can do this. I'm a football player. This is something that is unique to me that my brand or the people that follow me are gonna be like, oh, that's the specific thing to me. That's branding.
I think it's the opposite of where opposite. I think it's different. I think it's let me build my brand by showing I ain't got no issue dancing on their logo. I ain't got no issue disrespecting them.
I mean, I would love to have Juju, man. If you want to come on the
if you ever hear this
and give us your mentality on why you was dancing. But I mean, again, to your point, and I guess to my point too, his head coach pulled him to the side, and a week later we got the statement: I will no longer be dancing on logos for the betterment of myself and my team.
Yeah, because it's disrespectful. Let's just be real. That's like. Oh, we're gonna break it to another level. I think it was Tekashi or something like that.
Okay,
6ix9ine that went into an quote unquote ops neighborhood, hopped out the car, threw up his signs.
Yeah, it was.
We know it's a level of disrespect to that though.
He was playing though. I don't think. I understand what you're saying. I don't think that was the case. And from what I heard, Tekashi also jumped out for 2.2 seconds and jumped back
in and dipped
and was out. So
because he knows.
With that being said, Juju's not doing that. It's not like he's dancing and being like, oh, I'm injured, not going to play today. And I think it was I don't know if you've seen the hit, but that player from the Bengals, right? It was from the Bengals.
It was a clean hit.
Yo, it's that. Oh, hell yeah, it was clean.
But hey,
that's football.
That's what you get.
That's football. And so, yeah, I mean, we've always talked about not giving other teams bulletin board material. And I think in the game of football, that's what you can't do. Right, so Dwayne Haskins, you can't give the illusion that you're not focused. You can't provide that. You got to give the illusion that you're the starting quarterback of this team and you're the leader and you're more focused than anyone else because that's what the position requires.
I don't like that. By the way, I know it's kind of shifting our point, but I don't like that.
What the position of quarterback?
No. Oh no. I'm talking about you can't give a certain illusion. You can't. Like you said something earlier and was like, if I see an old lineman dancing, oh, he's food.
Sure.
I don't like that. Like I said,
that's all perspective. As athletes, you psych yourself up with these things, right? Like a lot of this stuff is illusion. Like I heard stories about Michael Jordan beefing with coaches on the sideline just because he didn't like the way they walked. Like athletes, you look for things to fuel yourself. So again, another very thin line are you fueling yourself as an athlete or is somebody really disrespecting the cloth that you're coming from?
Okay.
How you want to wrap this one up, man?
I don't know, because we done been to a few places tonight. So
I mean, it's all about football and perspective and opinions on the new athletes and old athletes. I think it all fits to this conversation and some of those old athletes. Era. Yeah, man, we as leaders, as people that might have played the game or been around the game, you have to allow these young men to do it in the new era that we're in. We're no longer in the era where reporters are just going to put a mic in your face and ask you. They have that added too, but now there's
fans can reach you.
Yes, 15 million people with mics now that can say something.
Nah, that's true. So since you asked how we're gonna wrap this up, here's my closing point and my closing argument and my closing statement, whichever one you want to call it. I think as whichever term you want to use, African Americans, as Black people, as people of color, whichever one you want to use, I think we should have a certain code. And I don't think Booger was a part of that code just now. I think he was out of code, just not a part of that code, but he was out of code just now. I mean, not just now, but when he said it. I think we should, and he shouldn't have. I don't want to say necessarily defend in public, but don't bash in public.
You know what I'm gonna say. I think he does have to defend it. Let that young man flourish, man. He's a kid. He made a mistake.
Yeah,
and hope that defend him, talk to him, defend him, and hope that he pays it back by getting another opportunity and making the most of it.
Damn, you're gonna kill my closing argument, bro? God, on my closing statement. Jesus.
Was that what you was gonna say?
No. I mean, just saying that was my closing statement, and you stopped it. But absolutely not for real though. Yeah, he has an obligation to like we said earlier. Even though I hate the word, he has an obligation to not bash in public, and not, you feel me, especially when he lumped a group of people together, a group of people that look like us together, and don't give the dominant society who already has their thoughts or whatever, ammunition and ally to say, oh, well, Booger said, and don't get me wrong, Booger's very good at his job. He's been doing it a long time. So I
like him as a commentator.
I'm not knocking him as a commentator overall, but in that particular moment, don't give ammunition to the opposition.
I would say, to wrap it up, what's that quote? We fumble over it a number of times. Each one, reach one to teach one, whatever it is. I think let's just continue to do that. And as always, let's stay on code. I think that's important, right? We don't know if Booger reached out to that young man. If he hasn't, I hope that he does, right? Like, for commentators or for people giving your opinion, if you can reach these people, and I don't doubt that Booger can reach Dwayne Haskins if he wanted to, right? That's fair to say. Right? If you can reach these people, don't say anything on a public platform that you haven't called and been like, hey, this is my feeling. It may be a little controversial. This is where I'm going with it. Do you have anything you'd like to say to get in front of it, or anything you'd like for me to relay to my audience to sway their opinion of you? That's the code, man. Just trying to stay on code as much as we can as a people. And again, as a people, giving us the longitude to make mistakes. So I don't want to see all these Monday morning quarterbacks coming and saying like, oh, first round pick released in 2 years. There's a bunch of other problems. I've read all types of quotes regarding Dwayne Haskins. Let that young man grow, right? There's an evolution that comes with being a young man and becoming an old man. So allow him that room and space to be a grown up, or get there at least.
That's facts.
On that note, my guy, this podcast is all done. See y'all next week.
Don't you go off now. That's right. Don't go off. Yeah. Nah, don't you go off now. Look, hey, I woke up this morning living my best life. And if it isn't, at least I gave it my best try. I'm just enjoying the moments cause ain't no next time. Trying to slide with my people on the west side. Yeah, moving different than all the rest cause I'm about doing it different. New vision.